To finish off the module, let's go ahead and take a look at the last few settings on the AI hair shader, as well as a few things we can do with our lights and the Arnold render settings. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to my hair system, jump over to the AI hair shader, and let's talk about transmission. Transmission is when light hits one hair, passes through it, and hits the next, because it has that translucent effect to it. Now this is going to be easiest to visualize if I actually move my light. I'm going to go ahead and look through selected. I'm going to move my light maybe to kind of the back of his head over here, so we can kind of see maybe the front of it, kind of have a little bit of a rim light there. Okay, I'll go ahead and bring this back around to the perspective. And I might also increase the strength of my light. I might bring this to maybe 10, so it'll be brighter. So let me try maybe this angle here. And let's bring up our Arnold render view. Give that just a second. And perfect, that's exactly what we want to see. So you can see that we do have a rim light on the hair, and the rim light definitely has, some color to it. However, it's not really passing through each hair, it's just illuminating the hairs that it sees. However, if I go ahead and select that option right here, the transmission, I can actually force it to not just light up the hairs that it sees, but again, also pass through to other hairs. So as I increase this, you can see it's actually getting a little bit brighter. We see that white color in there. Now to make this incredibly obvious, I'm going to go ahead and change this to blue. So wherever we obviously have this blue color is where we have the light passing through. So you could see it actually does come through quite a bit. Now I can also increase the spread here, and you're going to see this even more prominently now. You can see the light penetrates through quite a bit of the hair there, even begins to penetrate through and catch his skin over here. So that's basically what it does. It allows, again, the light to pass through the hair. Now you would never use it in these crazy amounts that I am right now. I'm doing this just for effect, but we could come in here and let's say choose this kind of brownish color, and maybe I'll bring the weight down quite a bit. Maybe bring the spread down a bit as well. And we can see the difference. This is going to be with it. We can see the light does actually pass deeper into the hairs, or if I put it to 0, it doesn't. So it just really depends on your situation if you really want to use that or not. I don't really need it for what I'm doing, so I'm going to go ahead and just turn that down. Right, and I'm going to go ahead and spin this light back around to where it was. So with that said, let's actually look at setting up the rest of our lights. Now you can go ahead and use something like a sky dome to maybe fill out the rest of the lights. However, that's going to make rendering hair a bit slow. So I'm going to finish this off with a couple more of these lights here. Now I'm going to turn this back down to my exposure of 5, and we're going to call this our key light. There's our key. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. So I'll hit just Control D. I'll go ahead and look through selected here. Oops. Look through selected. There we go. And I'll swing this around to the back here, and we'll just call this kind of our rim light, depending on the angle we're looking at. I think we're looking at that angle opposite there, so maybe that'll be our rim light there. Okay, we'll just name that, whoops, that'll be rim. Oops, looks like I named the wrong thing key. I meant to name this key. There we go. And now we'll go ahead and duplicate this once more. We'll go ahead and call this fill. And I'll go ahead and look through selected. And we'll just bring this one around to here. Okay. Come back to my perspective, and we'll make a few changes. So first of all, this one here, I'm going to bring down to about an exposure of 2. And my color temperature, I'm going to go ahead and take it down to the warmer side. This one here, the one I have been using, I'm leaving as is and taking the color temperature a little bit cooler. And this one back here, I'm actually going to kick up a notch. So just kind of for some quick defaults, I think that should be okay. Let's go ahead and bring up our Arnold render view and see what we have. It might be a little too bright. It is, so let's go ahead and kick down our key light here. Go ahead and maybe drop that to 3. There we go. And I might also bring down my fill light a little bit as well. Maybe down to 1. All right, so that works. So we have some decent lighting set up here. And again, this lighting's nothing to write home about, but you can see it'll showcase our hair pretty decently. So to go ahead and kind of finish this off, I'd like to add more hairs in here. So I'll go to my hair system, and the easiest way to add more hairs is to go here to clump and hair shape. Right now I have 50. So I'm going to really up this pretty high. I'm going to go to 250. So I'm going to have 5 times as many hairs. Now, when you do this, it's going to be a little alarming. It's going to look like hair has disappeared, but that's just because I don't have enough RAM on my video card to display every hair, so it's just not showing them in the viewport. They will still render. I can also drop my display quality down, which will drop the amount of hairs that are going to be visible in the viewport, and therefore at least I have a full head of hair to look at. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and take a quick render. I'm going to go ahead and pause while I do that. All right, so there we go. This took about 30 seconds, so it's not bad. And the hair's looking fairly thick. However, even though we have a lot more hairs now I think each individual hair is too thick. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that down. Let's go jump over here and now bring this down to 0.001, so each hair will be half as thick. And I can also change the width of the hair overall just by maybe dropping this here. Let's go ahead, and that way we'll kind of start thicker with the hair and then kind of have a more gradual drop off there. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually zoom in a little closer on the hair now and take a quick render of how this looks. All right, so we can see that now it took us about 1:23, so a bit longer, but the hair looks really nice now. So let's go ahead and finish this off by trying to clean up the rest of the image. Even though the hair looks smooth, we still have some really jaggy areas in some places, and these shadows look terrible. So in order to clean that up, I will jump into my shadows here, and I'm going to up my samples. So I might take this to 4 over here. We'll go ahead and do the same with the fill light here, 4. And actually, the rim light doesn't really need a shadow. I'm debating. We may really want it there. For now, I'm probably going to shut it off. And I really want to also take it down. It's a bit too strong to maybe 4 and maybe a cooler color as well. Okay, now let's go ahead and jump into our Arnold render settings. I'm going to come over here to Arnold, and I'm going to up my camera anti-aliasing. So I'm not really dealing with any refraction, so I can turn that off. There is some subsurface scattering on the skin, so I'm going to leave that on. I don't really need the volumes either. And actually here under ray depth, this transparency, by dropping this down, I can actually speed up the render a little bit. This is how many layers of transparency I can have. So maybe we'll drop it to 6. Okay, so with all of that done, let's go ahead and do one more render. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, and let's see what we have. All right, so here we go. I did make a couple of other changes. I found that the lights were a little too even, so I brightened the key by 1, taking the exposure up by 1, and I brought the fill light down by 1 in the exposure. But you can see we actually do have a really, really nice look to the hair. It doesn't look like it's all that anti-A-list. We could, of course, have a little more quality to it. We could up the transparency effect a little bit more as well. You can see it's a little rigid there at the back, but for the most part, it looks good. So that's actually going to conclude this module and concludes our look at NHair in this course. However, you may have noticed as we've gone through the course that this system is very limited. First of all, it's very difficult to style the hair. If anything, we kind of usually style the hair just by making our own curves separately or even producing them in other softwares. And also the very nature of the system, where it's based on these large clumps, makes it really not that great for short hair, especially if it's very short hair such as maybe eyebrows or facial hair. But even if you wanted a buzz cut, it's really not the ideal solution. So for that reason, we do have several other systems we're going to look at. We still have yet to look at XGen as well as the interactive groom systems in upcoming modules. However, for right now, let's do a quick recap of what we've covered in this module. We started by taking a look at working with our start and rest curves. After that, we went on to take a look at actually editing our hair curves and the multiple ways that we can do that. After that, we took a look at using the Make Curves Dynamic feature, and then we took a look at working with different types of hair displacements to add additional details to individual hairs. We then took a look at painting hair color and baldness maps, and we took a look at working with the AI hair shader. And of course, we just finished up by taking a look at lighting and rendering hair in Arnold. So I hope you've enjoyed these last two modules, as they are our modules on NHAIR, and I hope you'll join us for the next two modules on XGen and our final module on working with interactive grooming. I'll see you all there.